What it do, what it do. So, check this out, right? Dame was on the Breakfast Club yesterday, right? I think it was probably one of the best episodes I have seen in a long time. It already got over like 1 million views. I know I seen it yesterday, and like around like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, it was already, probably before then, it was already at 1 million views. Probably one of the best episodes within this year. But they brung up the whole him and Cam situation, right? And Dame says Cam was never a hustler. You know what I mean? He said he didn't go to Ohio until he became a rapper. So when I heard that, I was just like, yo, that's deep. You know what I mean? And that really, really spoke volume. You know why? Because Cam has always given off this hustler, I used to get it off the block type of pedigree, type of attitude. And he has displayed a lot of, first of all, he has displayed a lot of disloyalty when it comes to certain individuals. Him and Jim Jones, for example, him and Dame. You know what I mean? And certain things Jim has said in the past about him, it's all coming together. It's all making sense. Then when you hear Dame speak on Cam, now it's like, damn, you know, maybe Jim was, you know what I mean? Maybe, you know what I mean? I think people is you know, listening or paying attention a little bit more. But Dame just flat out said, like, yo, he's never been a hustler. He didn't get off the block. You know what I mean? He even said it was a time him and Big L got, I think he said, if I'm not mistaken, it was him, Big L, or whatever, and Dame got caught with some work and said Cam was crying. You know what I mean? But Dame straight up said Cam has never been a hustler. And now when you go back and you look, and you know what I'm saying, you really pay attention to it, it's like, damn, you know what I mean, he don't really give off that though. You know what I mean? But he has always displayed that in front of people. And you know what I mean? He has always has displayed that, right? So, but he said he's never been a hustler. Period. He said he didn't go to Ohio until he later became a rapper, and that has been the case with a lot of people, right? But I think as the years go by, you know what I'm saying, a lot of people have said stuff about Cam, and well as Dame too. But I think, if anything, Dame has always been a team player. Hands down, Dame has always been a team player. I can even recall the times where people would say, yeah, Dame would be in the meetings and, you know, they would try to stop or say, yo, we're going to do J album like this, or, you know, yada, 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 whatever. And, you know, he was the guy that would go into the meetings and really be fighting for you. You know what I'm saying? He was the guy that would be in the meetings and that would really be fighting for you. You know what I'm saying? I think he has always displayed disloyalty. Cam, that is. I think he has always been for himself. You know what I mean? I think he has always just been for himself. Period. And we have seen that time and time again. Now, he said he would help Dame. He did say that. You know, and I feel like when he made that video, when he had it's crazy, right? He had 50 What Up Gangsta playing in the background. And he was basically saying like, yo, I still got some slots, some time slots. I could, enough where I could put on 2 more shows. Just let me exactly produce it. I felt a little bit sincere. He was sincere in that message when he said that, because he was like, when I was down and out. I mean, when I was out, but when I was down, Dame came through for me. He put me on Rocafella, and the rest is history. But Cam has displayed a lot of him being petty just with certain individuals. You know what I mean? I know for a fact people like 40 Cal, J.R. Ryder, Hell Rail, probably Jaja, and other Dipset Bird Gang members don't even like to speak about when they was a part of Dipset. You know what I mean? When they was running with Cam and all of them. You know what I mean? Because everybody has said a lot of rotten things about Cam. And it's just funny that, Dame said that about him. You know what I mean? And, he basically was just saying that, he's never been a team player. So anyone that's never been a team player, these are the type of results that you get. You know what I'm saying? When somebody is not a team player. Because when you're not a team player, these are the type of people you encounter. These is the type of people you encounter. And, if he was really a real individual, I feel like maybe Cam would, lend a hand to Dame. Now he said he was willing to put his shows on the time slot and do certain things and all this and that. But we all know how petty Cam could be. You know what I'm saying? He's always given or have given off the type of energy where you could tell that he's only for himself. You know what I'm saying? Now, will Dame just say, you know what? All right, let's work together. I'm going to go ahead and let you executive produce the shows, or I'm going to let you go ahead and put these shows on, your time slot on Revolt or whatever. But, it's got to be 50-50, meaning like let me be the co-producer. If you're going to be the executive producer, let me co-produce it because it's my shit, it's my shows. Now, will that happen? Hopefully they could come to some type of agreement, and maybe it will happen. But I think a lot of this, of what they're going through is pretty much probably on Cam. You know what I mean? Because it was a point in time where a lot of them dudes was bigging up Dame. Especially when everything was good. A lot of them cats was bigging up Dame. They was. You know what I'm saying? From Jim Jones to Cam to other dudes from Harlem. You know what I'm saying? I think Dame still got a nice, still got a lot of pull with certain individuals. I'm not going to say a lot, but he's still, you know what I'm saying? I think he's still great. His name is still good with certain people. But, when it comes to him and Cam, I think a lot of this came from Cam, for one, not being a team player, for two, Cam being very petty, and, just Cam probably just don't have good interaction people skills. A lot of people is like that, to where they're only cool or only good in certain moments, but the minute they get up or the minute they seem to be, or it appears to be where they doing better, it gets a little bit tricky with them. You know what I mean? Cam, and I think, and this how I know Dane was a real one with him, because at the time when Cam got on Rocafella, Cam wasn't the nicest as in rap. His wordplay is crazy. You know, he say some slick little, you know, if you catch on, you catch on it, and if you know, you know. But, you know what I mean, out of the whole camp, you know, Bings and Bleak and of course Jay and all, you know, all of them dudes, he was never like the top tier rapper of Rocafella. You know what I'm saying? He probably was like a top tier, quote unquote, hustler, because he was at that time when Cam got signed, he was relentless due to the fact that the SDE album, Sports, Drugs, and Entertainment album, didn't do as well. And then, you know, before that, a couple of years before that, he had Confessions of Fire. So at that time, he had to really put his hustle in when he got to Rocafella. And he even spoke about that, far as him putting a foothold and him really pumping the mixtapes out and all of that, because at that time, if he probably didn't, it would have been already over with for him anyway, because his first two albums was kind of shaky. And I could remember when Confessions of Fire came out, and then like that was 98, and then like 2 years, like 2 years later, the SDE album came out. You know what I mean? And then a couple years from that, he got put on, you know, Dame put him down with Rocafella. You know what I'm saying? So he was never like a super top tier on Rocafella or any, even if he wasn't with Rocafella, you know, he was never that. You know what I mean? The whole Dipset Diplomat movement helped Cam get to where he's at today. It did. It really did. You know, now when he dropped the Come Home With Me album, he had some joints on there. You know what I'm saying? He did. That probably, even probably today, that a lot of people would probably say that's probably like his best album. But for some reason, I like, you know, SDE was pretty straight, but Come Home With Me had joints on there. You know, Old Boy, Hey Ma, Daydreaming, Welcome to New York City with Jay-Z, even though that wasn't a single. He had a few. The Rock is just fire. You know what I'm saying? So he had a good, I would say he had a good, out that whole album, I would say he had a good 5, 6, maybe 7, you know, songs that was on there that was that. Like I said, hey, of course, Old Boy, Hey Ma, Daydreaming, Welcome to New York City, The Rock is just fire, with Bleak and Bings on there. So he had about 6 or 7 joints that was like, okay, you know, that a lot of people was rocking with. But that came from, I think that really came from probably just, you know, locking in the studio. And then not only that, you know what I mean, he was at he was at the edge of the cliff, so to where it had to work out at that point in time. And I feel like even at that time, Jim, because I can't really say Juelz, because Juelz was a little bit much younger than them, but I think at that time, Jim helped him out with that album probably more than we even know. That a lot of, you know what I'm saying, that he probably really don't give Jim credit for it. And Jim said it. Jim said it. Now, you know, since him and Dame, you know, going through what they're going through, I truly believe that Jim helped him a lot out. Jim helped out with that album a whole lot. I truly believe that. I truly feel like he helped him out with that album a lot, and probably really didn't give him as much credit. But at the time, Jim probably was just like, whatever. You know what I'm saying? This is my man's. You know what I'm saying? We rocking. We got this new deal with Rocafella. Dana put us down. You know what I'm saying? We in the building. But we can see where Cam has always been for himself. And I think, now that I think about it, I think that has been the reason why him and Jewels fell out. Because it's all coming in full circle. I think that is the reason why him and Jewels fell out, is because he was for himself. Now, he did let Jewels get out the deal and stuff like that when Jewels wanted to leave and stuff like that. But now it's like, now when you think about it, it's like, damn, I wonder why Jewels wanted to have, at that point in time, hurry up and get out of his deal with Cam. And this is probably the reason why Jewels probably wanted to get out the deal with Cam, was because he probably seen like, damn, dude's, you know, this dude's kind of for himself. You know what I mean? Jim doing his own thing. I'm still over here with him. I want to get out this deal. And he eventually let him out the deal. But around that time, that's when you seen Jewels go from being with Cam, him and Cam, to slowly removing himself, and then him being with Jim, being around Jim all the time, because Jewels is on that Bird Gang album. You know what I'm saying? Now, rightfully so, Jewels is in Killer Season, right? We don't see Jim. And it's funny because I remember when Killer Season came out. I think I still had that shit on DVD. Real talk. But anyway, Jewels is all through the movie. Jim is not. So I already figured, even back then, like, damn, him and Cam must not be on good terms. Because Hell Rail is in it, 40 Cal is in it, Jewel is all in it, Chubby Baby, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of dudes that's in it, right? So I was just like, damn, you know, and that's how I knew, like, okay, well, him and Jim is going through whatever they going through, right? But I think after that, that's when Jewels and Cam start having issues. Or Jewel start having issues with Cam, I would say. And you see him remove himself, and then he basically started hanging with Jim. And Jim even spoke on it. Like, I think as of recent, like, not too long ago. But he's saying, like, he remember how Jewels was always around Cam, and then and Jim basically said that, you know, all of a sudden he's around me, like, damn, what the fuck, like, and he said it wasn't no issue, but he was just trying to figure out. I think maybe at the time, early on, he probably didn't really know, like, damn, okay, Jewels, you know what I'm saying? And Jim already knew it had to be something going on with him and Cam, you know what I mean? And Jim, like I said, Jim Jones spoke about that, you know, but I think a lot of that stemmed from Cam not being a team player, honestly, and probably, you know, giving dude kind of like giving him Cam giving Jewels his ass to kiss, you know what I mean? But we see it. You know, Jewels never really spoke on it, and I think Jewels don't really want to speak on, like, certain situations that happen with Cam. He kind of like always kind of like brushes off, but you can see, you know what I'm saying? Then you got somebody like Jim that spoke on Cam before, and now Dame, you know what I mean? So, and then other members that was a part of the whole movement has always said stuff about Cam, and how he's a rotten motherfucker and this, that, and he's always for himself. And the key word that I keep hearing is for self. So that is the subject of the whole thing, right? For self. Cam is a rotten person. He's a riding person. He's for self. He's for self. He's not a team player. He's not a team player. So, and everybody pretty much has said this about him over the years. So what do that tell you? He's never been a team player. You know what I'm saying? So what we see right now, him and Dame going back and forth at it, I think Dame just feels like maybe he deserves more from Cam, because Cam, when he was down and some would say out, Dame picked him up and put him on Rocafella. And at the time, Rocafella was the hottest label. Of course, outside of, like, you know, we had Rough Riders and Murder Inc. and all these labels was all under, you know, Def Jam. But Rocafella at that time was the hottest shit movement. Everybody wanted a Rocafella chain. Everybody wanted that rock chain. You feel me? So it just showed that, you know, how he probably really is. And I feel like Dame just feel like, damn, dog, when you was pretty much over with and a lot of people wasn't messing with you or wasn't about to mess with you or fuck with you, I did this for you. I put you on Rocafella. You was able to put out like 3 or 4 albums on Rocafella. You know, I put you in paid in full when I could have got this and that person. You know what I'm saying? He probably did other things that he probably never would speak on for Cam. I'm quite sure he did, because these is 2 dudes that was coming from Harlem. You know what I mean? And I feel like since he knew Cam early on when Cam was a teenager, he maybe felt like, Dame probably always felt like he had a better, or he thought he had a better relationship with Cam than maybe he did with Jay. You know what I'm saying? Because I watched you grow up when you was from high school and playing ball. I knew, you know what I'm saying? I knew you before you even came to Rocafella. So I think that's why Dame to this day take it a little bit more personal, because Dame is looking at the fact that, yo, I put you down when I didn't have to. You know what I'm saying? And maybe it's like Dame is just looking at it like, damn, you really owe me more, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you kind of giving me your ass to kiss, but I truly believe Dame is looking at it like, yo, I really took you, picked you up off the ground, picked you up off the dirt, you know, and wiped you off and put you back in the game when I didn't have to do shit. You know what I'm saying? And he really didn't, because Dame didn't need Cam. Rocafella was doing great at that time. Dame didn't need Cam. And I want to say, because Cam got signed to Rocafella, I want to say like towards the end of 2001, because he dropped Come Home With Me in 2002. You know what I mean? So I think he said he got signed to Rocafella around like close to the end of 2001. You know what I mean? So, you know, I think Dame is just at the point where he's just like, yo, I looked out for this dude, and, you know, this is how he repays me, about bashing me, talking about finances, you know, I have called this dude multiple times, he don't pick up, or whatever, you know what I mean? So, and I think he's just looking at the fact that, yo, I really helped you out when I didn't have to. I really looked out for you when I didn't have to. And I think that's just what it is. And I think Dame is probably, could possibly be a little hurt off of that, though. You know what I mean? Probably just as hurt as he was how Jay went about the whole Rocafella thing, but maybe even a little bit more so because, like, I watched you grow up. You know what I'm saying? I seen when you put out your first 2 projects, your first 2 albums, and how that played out for you. You know what I mean? I knew you when you was playing ball. You know what I mean? I was managing you at some point. You know what I'm saying? And I gave you an opportunity. I put you in one of the biggest urban movies ever that's still talked about to this day, which is Paid in Full. It's been what, about 20 some years, and people are still talking about Paid in Full shit just as much as they talk about Pac. You know what I'm saying? Like, I put you in one of the biggest urban movies. You know what I'm saying? And this is what I get. This is the outcome. You know what I'm saying? And I know Dame has thought about all of that, and because he's been speaking about it. So I know he's just like, wow, okay. You know what I mean? Hopefully, you know, Cam and Dame, you know, but hopefully they could, you know, come to some type of, I don't know, agreement far as, you know what I mean, far as them maybe coming together again and making money, you know, or doing something together. And, you know, I think that'll be, maybe it will happen, but maybe it won't happen. But if it could happen, I think it'll be dope for hip-hop, dope for Harlem to see something like that again. You know what I mean? Because at the time, they was like that. Him and Cam was like, even after the whole Rocafella situation, they was still like that. So hopefully they could come together and get some real money together again. You know what I mean? Because right now the ball is in Cam hands. The ball is in his court. Far as, you know, he got the show, the podcast with Mace, Talk with Flea. So he got 2 separate podcasts, and he got a lot of deals, probably more deals on the table. Him and 50 is doing business. So it's been looking good for Cam for the last couple of years. So I don't know, man. Maybe they could come together and really get some real money. You know what I'm saying? And really, you know, touch some money together. You know what I mean? But like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Please and thank you. I'm out.